Saturday night we did an outreach. Saturday we did an outreach. We fed 300 people and decided to go into Rome to walk around a little bit and parked my car next to this like gay pride festival. Probably the worst thing you could do. Came back at 10 o'clock with my window smashed in and my backpack missing, with my laptop, all my cash for a month's worth of travel, and my passports were gone. So we had to get emergency passports like at the embassy yesterday morning. But 44 hours later, I was home in bed.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we made it.
Well, welcome back,
On to the next trip, right? You know.
dude.
So I said
Yep.
I'm just gonna go ahead and book the next one as soon as I
Yep.
get my real passport.
Yeah, it's wild. Hindsight's 2020. What would you do differently? Just wear your backpack out in a situation like that, or would you not have worn it, or would you
No.
have hidden it, or would you have taken like stuff out of your backpack and maybe hid it in the car so it wasn't like a snatch and grab, or what do you think you would have done
Well, the
differently?
problem was I was going to record a podcast that morning, so I had everything with me. But in reality, I leave everything locked in my hotel. You know what I mean?
In the hotel?
Yeah. So normally I leave it locked up in the safe or whatever, and don't even bother bringing it. You know, because Italy is famous for
Smash
pickpocket
and grabs
and
like that.
smash
Yeah,
and grabs and stuff.
yeah.
And they do them literally every day. Like there was 30 people at the embassy who all got robbed over the weekend.
God.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
And it's funny because everybody's like, "Oh, be careful in Turkey, be careful in Africa, be careful in Dubai." And meanwhile, those are like the safest places. And then we go to Italy, get robbed.
So yeah, if you had to do it again, what would you do? Would you keep your computer separate from your backpack? Would you kind of like just you because you think they just grabbed your backpack and bounced, or do you
Oh
think they
yeah,
like
yeah,
rummaged around?
yeah. They
Or
were
did you
looking for cash. Yeah, I mean, in hindsight's 2020. I would have just left it all locked up in the room. Like I would
yeah,
have taken stuff out, but in that
but if
case,
you
just
didn't
carry
like
it
in the
on your
safe
body.
yeah,
But
yeah,
so
or
here's
like
the
hide
thing,
it
dude.
under a car or what?
Yeah,
Or
maybe
hide it
like
under
hide
the
it.
car seat or something like that. Yeah.
Maybe, yeah, yeah. Make sure it's not visible. But even then, like the people who we met at the embassy, they got robbed like with crossbody bags right up against their body. Somebody would bump them and they'd reach in and grab their stuff. Like these people are professional.
Sure, yeah.
So even if I had it on my back, somebody could unzip it and take whatever they wanted.
Sure.
So yeah, I
Well,
just be prepared. That's all. Have insurance.
well, you're back, bro. That's great.
I'm back. I made it.
It's
So
awesome.
anyway, good to see you.
Yeah, good to be here. Hey, good to see everybody on the call. Pastor Kevin, good to see you. Caleb, welcome to the call. John Carlo, hey. Mr. Thacker, what's up, buddy? Tyler, good to see you again. Drew, hey. What's up, Andrew? Sakari, hey, dude. I'll call you
Hey
later. Been
there.
working. Timbo Slice is on the call too. Said everybody. JC, Elliot, what's up, everybody? Anybody got a testimony they want to start off with? I know we just heard Mark's wonderful testimony of being delivered from Italy with no passport and just 24 hours he made it back.
Yeah, I'd say for us, like our biggest testimony is what over 1,000 people got saved, fed. New countries opened up. A lot of people getting fired up in the business realm. So that's my testimony. I mean, we were Mauritius, Istanbul, and then Italy we had healings, miracles, salvations. A lot of people getting just fired up. So that's our testimony for the last month.
Yeah, sick, bro. It's great to
Yeah.
have you back.
That's awesome, Mark. Sorry about what happened, but awesome testimony of seeing people. Sometimes you pick up a couple bruises along the way in a battle to take a new land. So
Yeah, and especially in Rome, I think they used to kill Christians. Now they just rob them.
Yeah,
So at least I
bro,
wasn't crucified. And
bro, you could have been a gladiator, bro. What are you talking
yeah,
about?
so I mean they've progressed. Thank God.
That's awesome. Um, yeah, does anyone have anything they want to give God credit for? Something cool that he did this last week or last 2 weeks or anything?
Yeah, I got something for you guys.
Yeah, go for it, Drew.
I've been inviting one of my closest friends to this call, and he came one time, and he's trying to fit it in his schedule. He works a 9 to 5, so it's hard for him to come. But he's been going through this thing with his business that he's just recently started, and we were talking about it. There was like a big pivot point for him and something bad happened. And I called him about it and just checking in on him. And I was like, this is how things have changed for me in the past few months. And I was like, I was saying all of the the technical things that my brain was going through, but I was like tiptoeing in circles around the big one, which is like I just shook God's hand and said like we're gonna do this together.
Yeah.
I was tiptoeing around that, and then I finally was just like, I'm just gonna say it. Like I just said it out loud, and he was like, "Dude, I just got chills," and I was like, "What do you mean? What happened?" And he was like, "I don't know how I forgot this, but 2 days ago, I literally broke down in my room and just prayed to God and said, 'Please, like, tell me, like, am I on the right path? Am I following you?'" And he said somehow in all of the commotion of this, that's just this thing that just happened to him, I completely forgot about it. And he was like, that just completely reminded me. And it was like, it's clear that this is happening for a reason. And obviously, like, that didn't have anything to do with me. That's just like God reminding him of his situation through me. And that felt so awesome that because I was putting myself I was putting my own path and walk in God's hands, that he was then able to deliver me to my best friend, to be there for him in that time. That was just super cool.
That's awesome, Drew. Yeah, I personally was like, I don't really have a testimony, and then what you just said reminded me. But what you're saying, like just on those lines, like sometimes we think of the big things God does in terms of like this business deal or we close this thing, but the truth is that like people are what really matter at the end of the day. And the larger testimony is what you're saying about your friend is like, one, getting to encourage him, and then two, getting to be used by God in a way that God's obviously touched your life now that you're able to do the same for somebody else. And yeah, that's the priceless moments, right? We're all humans. We're kind of like living our own life, and so a lot of times we see life from our own viewpoint. This is what's happening in my life. This is what's going good. This is what's going bad. But when you get to be there for another, brother or whoever, and be an encouragement to them and be like the breakthrough they need, or an encouragement along their journey, especially if you've had that done for you before. I think that's the priceless moments that really like make up a rich life, is being able to be that person for lots and lots of people. And, at the end of your life, when we all die, if Jesus doesn't return before that time, we're going to be, I mean, your funeral and the people that miss you are kind of the evidence of like how impactful your life has been. And I think that a long time ago, I came to the realization that that's the real treasure. A good friend asked me the other day, I've finally turned the big 4-2, which is the number Paul reminded me it's the number to the answer to the universe in the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. So it's supposed statistically and scientifically going to be my best year of my life. But he asked me, what have you learned in your 42 years, Tim? And I was like, well, I've learned a lot. That's a hard question to answer, Neil. I was like, but the thing I would say that's on my mind right now and my heart right now is that I feel very rich, because I have great friends and I'm in a community, and I've got this men's group that we do now on Wednesdays that just started as like, I feel like I need to do something. And so, Troy, do you want to do something? And there were a couple of us on here, and now it's growing, and now there's new friends. And I meet Pastor Kevin in Tampa a few weeks ago, and it's like we know each other now from something else. And I genuinely like look forward to these calls on Wednesdays, just hanging out with guys. And I just realized like how few men have friends, like real friends that you can actually be honest with. And there was a young guy that came to my house yesterday. I got a text, and I've like learned to love these moments now, but I got a text in the morning at like 7:45 that said, hey, I talked to your brother, and I can't sleep. I heard you went through this. Can you help me? And I said, yeah. And I've learned now, I just call instantly. So I just said, hey, you free right now? And, came downstairs to my office and just started talking to him. And, an hour later, I take him through the journey I went through and how I overcame that. And, because when I was in the midst of it, I just didn't even think I honestly had many days where I didn't think I'd make it. And, and so it was wonderful. And then I just was like, I'm like, no, we need to do more than this. So I was like, just, can you come to my house? And I don't think he's ever been to my house before. I've known him since he was young, but I was just like, come to my house. And again, I haven't actually seen him in person in years. And we never even really had like a close friendship or anything. But I was like, just come to the house. So he came at 5. I gave him the book that I read that changed everything for me. The one I talk about all the time, Two Types of Righteousness by E.W. Kenyon, for anyone who's hearing it for the first time. And then, and then I just got to spend like another hour and a bit with him. I mean, I missed a meeting to hang out with him. And it was like really good. And when he left, my wife said, what do you think? And I was like, he's going to be okay. He'll be fine, and he's going to come out better through the situation. Not that God's causing it or allowing it to happen, because, if you'll listen to us for any length of time, you'll realize we don't believe any of that on these calls. Like, we don't believe God teaches you lessons by abusing you. So, but life and the enemy will come after you, and then you will learn out of that as you learn how to win. And I think that's what we're going to talk about today: how to have victory in every battle. But at the end of the day, like what you shared, Drew, is so important, because that's the real victories. That's the real testimonies, is when we help others. And we haven't pushed it much, but I encourage all of you guys, like even as Drew said, that I think that there's people that you guys would love being on this call, even people who are not really church people, because that's really what the intention was for this group. We've got plenty of church people on this call. We got people going on mission trips and leading people in Mauritius to the Lord, thousands of people. And then we got guys that, like, this is your church. Like, this is what you do for church, and you're probably never going to go into a normal church. And I would argue it's for everybody, but like our heart is to go expand into the people who would not. We've tried to make this group the group that someone who would feel comfortable to bring their friend who would never go to a church in here. And I think that's our goal. And so, if there's people on your heart, just invite them and do what Drew did. Call them. It takes it's uncomfortable. It breaks the routine. Call up a friend. Hey, man, I just had you on my mind. Hey, I just wanted to invite you to this thing. But it might be the thing that changes their life, And, there's just many moments where I look back, and I've been doing this long enough now where I've been like trying to live my life in view of helping other people, really since my, I'll call it 20s. And I'm 42 now. And so I've had the privilege of like coming full circle, where 20 years later, people come out of the woodwork that you only interacted with meaningfully one time for 30 minutes. And then they tell you that conversation changed my life. And here's like everything that happened from that one moment that you may not even remember you said to me. And so, I just encourage you, be that guy, be Drew to your friend this week, and reach out and, talk to him or get him in here. And let's grow the mighty men into a bigger group of mighty men. So, all right, cool. Well, I guess for time's sake, we're at 9:15. Let's just pray, and then we'll jump into today. And I feel like this table is too high, but for some reason it's zoomed in and whatever. But anyway, it doesn't matter. We'll just pray. Father, thank you for this awesome group of men. Thank you for those that will listen later on the recording. I pray a special prayer, Lord, that you know exactly what each man needs, and you help them, Lord, with where they're at, both personally, individually, in their hearts, but then also just in what they're endeavoring to do. Thank you that your word comes forth powerfully, that we're all encouraged, strengthened, and ready to win, Lord. It's victory month, so it's time for some victories. Let's have some victories, Lord, and position us for that today. Not tomorrow, not next week, but today. In Jesus' name, amen. So I had, this title came to mind for me in Victory Week. We'll have, I think, one more week of Victory Week next week. But today is going to be victory in every battle. And so I'm going to teach a little bit. I got a couple scriptures and points, but I'm going to kind of give you 3 things. There may be more, but I think it's these 3, at least in my life, that I've seen have led to victory every single time. And I'll touch some practical stuff, I think, and then but it's all based on the spiritual principles. Yeah, I'm not going to overhype it, but I'll just say that this might be like the most important. No, but this is if you want to win, pay attention for the next hour. And as someone that has fought a lot of battles, but had a ton of victories, this is what I've done, both practically and spiritually, to get there. So I'm going to kind of just teach. So point number one, jumping into victory in every battle. I think even before I'll say this real quick, because there's always a before with me. But the before how to have victory in every battle is to believe that you're supposed to have victory in every battle. So the children of Israel, throughout the Bible, you can go track this yourself. The only time they didn't experience victory was when they didn't listen and obey. And so victory is guaranteed for the child of God when you're doing what he tells you to do. So if you don't experience victory, it is you are not doing what he said, you didn't listen, you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, or you didn't do it in the right way. And I'll give you a couple of these points here. But basically, you need to start with the baseline that there's not, oh, I win some, I lose some. Oh, it's okay if you get knocked down and you get back up again. No, as a Christian, there are battles. So I don't want to confuse this with I don't go through battles. Being in a battle is not defeat. Sometimes people, even yesterday, I saw it with this young man. I saw it with myself when I was going through it. I felt ashamed. He said it yesterday. I feel shame that I've gone through this physical battle in my body. Because you think, oh, I've been a Christian, especially if you've been doing this a long time. Oh, I've been a Christian my whole life. That's actually the trap the devil puts people in. They face a battle in their later years as a Christian, and then they don't tell anyone. When in reality, the answer to your problem literally might be in one conversation with one person who also battled with it for 6 months. There's so many times people don't, and that's why I bring it up often, because I actually want to open that door to anyone that's struggling, right? You're not sleeping. I want to talk to you because I want to help you figure out, how, and the same way I did, right? And maybe your answer is not the same as mine, but it likely is, or at least we'll start there, and we can win together, right? And so a battle is not a defeat, but in that battle, there's only one ending. There's only one way this ends. There's only one way this movie ends. There's only one way this story ends as a believer, and that is in victory. I'm going to say that again. There is only one way this movie ends. You can start the movie and you can already be like, I know what happens. The Christian wins, right? Tim wins. Troy wins. Drew wins. That's how this ends. That's the only way the story ends. And you've got to start with that. Because if you go into even what I'm going to give you, these steps, half-cocked in your belief that you're going to win, like that will be the reason you don't win. You've got to go in knowing, because I'm a child of God, number one, and because I'm doing what God's called me to do. Those things are important, right? You know you're a child of God. The second question is, are you doing what He's called you to do? If you don't know the answer to that, back up, stop, rewind, reverse, go back, and ask that question and get that answer, because that is so vital, right? You got to know, like Peter, if you want me to walk on the water, tell me to come. You've got to know. You got to know that you're doing the thing you're supposed to do. But if you are doing the thing you're supposed to do, cheers. If you're doing the thing you're supposed to do, then you've got to attack that thing with full confidence, full absolute confidence that there's no way this doesn't end in victory. So then, in the midst of the battle where it inevitably doesn't look like victory is certain anymore, that's when you stop and go, okay, what's going on? Lord, do I need an instruction? Do I need an adjustment? Am I not listening? Did I miss an instruction? Did I miss a step? Or, do I need to back up? Or do I just need to pull up my pants and freaking hit this thing harder, Like, do I just need to encourage myself in the Lord that no, this is not right. Defeat is not right. Because sometimes defeat is happening because you're allowing it. That's really the truth, right? So first step, even before, I guess, the practical steps, is you gotta go into every battle. You gotta solidify today. You may as well just do it today, once and for all. I will never lose. I'm on an endless winning streak, right, Troy? Endless winning. Hey, that's Troy's. He's used it like so many times over the years. I can't remember what he uses it for now, but that's his thing, his brand, right? Endless winning, right? I'm on an endless winning streak because that's the inheritance of the child of God. The Bible says a couple scriptures. He says the light, the pathway of the righteous is like a shining light. It shines brighter and brighter until that perfect day. We are meant to go from glory to glory, from strength to strength, from faith to faith. We're meant to go up and up and up and up. And now it doesn't mean that there's not a season where you're preparing the next big thing, right? Again, it doesn't mean like, okay, I've done this before. Oh, that means that I never have a calendar year where I make less money. That's not what he promised, right? God's not on my timeline of like, oh, this calendar year, you're supposed to make more money or whatever. There's times where like you're preparing a thing, right? Pastor Rodney and Pastor Donica said it last week, like big things take time. So over time, you get to these later stages where you're preparing for something big and there's preparation, but there's not like, failure. Sometimes, again, Christians can have this false sense of, oh, this is going to work out, but then they just keep doing the same thing and it just keeps failing. No, there's a place to step back and go, did I get the instructions? More often than not, and I'll go into my first point now. First point is listen and obey. More often than not, if you're writing down notes here, more often than not, we listen as guys. It's the same in the natural as it is in the spirit realm, right? I hate reading instructions. So my first attempt is just to see if my brain can figure it out, which is usually not faster than just reading the instruction. For those of you instruction readers, weirdos on the call here, but basically you probably do it faster just by reading. But I want to see if I can just figure it out first, right? I'll just look at it. And then like a minute in, I'm like, okay, this is more complex. I need these instructions. And then I move to that, right? But ultimately, we don't like to do that even in the realm of the spirit. We'll get the instruction from the Lord. We love the instruction. Go conquer that land. Yes, sir. I'll see you later. And then we run off, right? And he's like, whoa. I had like 9 more things you have to do to conquer the land. And you're like, I got it. And there are some of us that do that, right? There's others that are the opposite side, which is usually more for girls, I think, than guys. But the Lord will say, go conquer the land. And you're like, okay, can I have another confirmation? Go conquer, go now. Okay, but just like one more sign that lets me know, like, okay, what? And then he's like, all right, never mind, just wait there, I guess, for a while, And so there's 2 types of people, but we need to be the third type, which is the Lord speaks. Okay, Lord, I'm listening. Okay, you want me to conquer the land? How do you want me to do it? How do you want me to do it, right? One of the things that always stands out to me about listen and obey and the importance of it. Let me read 2 scriptures real quick and then I'll come back to the stories. So first one, Psalms 18, 28 through 38. I just found this one today, but it's really cool. It says, sorry, I'm doing the, anyway, that actually goes later. Did I switch these? Okay, I switched it. Never mind. Sorry. Psalms 81, 13 and 14. Oh, that my people would listen to me, that Israel would walk in my ways. Then I would quickly subdue and humble their enemies and turn my hand against their adversaries. The Lord is basically saying here in the scripture to you and I, if you would listen and obey and walk in the ways that I've told you to walk, do what I tell you to do. And that's both in the sense of like, the things you know to do from the Bible, be honest, have integrity, the big ones, the easy ones, right? Like it's obvious. What do I do? Do I steal or do I do the right thing? I'm going to do the right thing. Do I pay the person correctly or do I hold back a little bit because we're tight? No, you just do the right thing. If you do the right thing, that works out. But there are also specific instructions. If my people would listen, if you would listen and obey and walk in my ways, listen and obey. Point number 1, that I would quickly subdue and humble their enemies. If the victory is taking a long time, that's a red flag that you have not fully listened and obeyed. And you need to take a second this morning and say, Lord, where have I missed it? Why am I struggling? Why am I not getting an answer to this, right? There was this moment for me, and I've shared this before, but I think it bears merit to share again. When I went to start raising my last round of funding, right? We had raised a round early in the early days. And we had built the game off of that thing. We had pivoted the game, and so I put some money into the company. And now we were coming to the time where we were going to raise round two, which you typically do after you built an MVP of the product or a lot of the product. And now we're going to go launch, right? So you typical raise is going to be in Sakari, you're unmuted there. It's going to typically be in two phases, and so basically you find yourself. So I raised the first round, and then I would always, from my first round, I purposely didn't take VC money, which is venture capitalist money, and so I raised from angels, and so which has pros and cons. The pros of it is that you don't really, with the equity, you don't typically give up like any kind of controlling interest, right? There's no one individual that owns enough to basically say like, hey, now I have a say in the way the company goes. So you get a lot of people, and usually they don't even want it anyway. They're betting on you. They trust you. So they're like, if you like it, Tim, I like it. So angels, for the most part, really, really awesome in that regard. What they typically don't come with is a lot of like market knowledge and like advice on scaling the company and these things. They're just kind of like, Tim, I support you, and maybe they might have personal knowledge, right? So with a VC, you get a larger check, you give up some control, but you also typically get like a great partner that will help you for the rest of your business. And so you want to pick the right VCs. And so anyway, I strategically chose to take no money. I felt from the Lord, don't take any money from VCs in my first round. So supernaturally, we filled that. And now we were coming to round two. And so the entire time for 3 years as we built, I'm like, round two before launch is where we have the VCs come in. So I had this in the back of my head for 3 years. And so now we came to the time we're like, okay, cool. Game is built, the core of it is we're just adding a bunch of stuff. The game is proven, it's doing well. Let's get out there and let's start raising. And so, I didn't really know. I'd not done the VC dance. And so I reached out to one and then another, and we booked calls, and it was good. And we talked, and you start to realize that not all VCs are the same. Some know what they're doing. Some are just guys with a lot of money who put together a fund, and you're confused as how they have so much money, But anyway, and so we start going around these calls, and they're all going really well. We're interested, once you have a lead. We're interested once you have a lead. We're interested once you have a lead. We're in once you have a lead. So that became the trend. I'm like, okay, well, I need to go get a lead, which is really just a VC who's willing to go first with a bit of balls, I guess. And so is the real version of it. And so basically, we now go in search of the lead, right? We talk to one, and they're like, it's not right for us. We talk to another one. And then I get on the call with a big one, and this is like the big boy. And this is over the period of about 9 months, And so when you start raising money and you've never done it before, my previous raise took me a short amount of time, like a very short amount of time. And so when I went into it, I'm like, yeah, I get on one phone call, and then an hour later, they're like, yeah, I'm in. Here's $100,000. And so that was my experience with raising. So I'm used to just a full pitch from beginning to end. And then you get the money at the end of the call. And so anyway, I had to learn the lesson that these VCs, they want to talk to you for 30 minutes just to like get to know a little bit of the idea. And then they see if they're interested in going further. And so anyway, but I get in on the call with a huge group where their minimum investment was more than we were raising. We were originally going to raise only 4 million. And then they minimum only do 6. So we raise the amount we're going to raise. Okay. And then I'm now realizing, well, they're going to want all of it. They're going to take all of it. So I'm like, well, let me see. I want to bring in some of my original investors wanted to put more in. So I need to negotiate that. But let me see, once we get further, I'll ask them if they're willing to take like 4.5 or 5. So we go from call 1 to call 2 to call 3, and I'm in chats with the guy who referred me to this group, and they invested in his company. And he's like, oh, you made it to call 3? That's crazy. Like, he never does 3 calls. Like, are they investing? And I'm like, no, we're not, I don't know yet. They're asking questions. And he's like, that's crazy. He's like, I never seen them like take 3 calls to really make up their mind. He's like, they must really be interested. And I'm like, yeah, I guess so, And so then call 4, and then call 5, and then call 6. He's like, what's happening? I'm like, I don't know. We're on call 6. Are they investing? I mean, I don't know. They're asking a lot of questions. They're looking at our financials. They're doing this and that. And he's like, so, now they've seen everything. Then call 7, then call 8. And he's like, what are they doing? And I'm like, I don't know. They've seen everything now. We're still doing calls. They're just asking, different questions. And anyway, finally call 9 comes. And in this moment, I'm like, okay, this is it, right? We were heading into the holidays. I'd booked this vacation. I'm going to go celebrate. At this point, I'd been wiring in $200,000 every 2 weeks into the company, which was getting old very quickly, to say the least. And so, I'd indicated to my wife, these guys are coming in. They're going to write a $4 to $6 million check, and we're going to be off to the races. But I'd never gone to the Lord and asked. I'd never listened and obeyed. I'd listened to go build the company. I'd listened to go raise the money. But I never asked how you wanted me to do it. I never asked for the instructions manual. He just said, build the bike. And I said, okay. And he's like, I got the instructions here. And I'm like, I don't need it. And then I went on my own and I made up my own instructions on how to build the bike. And as you would know, for anything semi-complex, that's just not going to work, right? You need God's instructions. And so in this process, I get on this final call, and it was almost like the guy seemed confused why he was saying no. But in the end, he said, hey, and with VCs, it's never a no, kind of like a ex-girlfriend or whatever, where they don't truly ever want to break up with the guy. You have to break up with them. And so a VC's like, he's like, please come to us in the next round. We want to see a little bit more traction. But we had like huge traction. So it was like, none of the things he really said made sense. He even said, you're one of the most impressive founders, Tim, after these 9 calls that I've ever talked to. And then he said, but we just made a decision to hold off for now. And then I said, is it about the valuation? He said, no. And then that was it. And there was never a thing like, oh, in your financials, because our financials were great. The data was great. The early numbers we had were way better than the other companies they invested in. Like everything made sense on paper. And I even think we'll look back and he'll go like, why did I pass on that? And I really think it was the Lord. Like the true answer is, I think the Lord, that's why it took 9 calls, because they're wrestling with, we should be saying yes already. And then for some reason they couldn't say yes. And I think it was the Lord restraining them from saying yes, which, in the Bible, if you see that, the Lord made people say yes, wanted to say no. And he made people say no when they probably wanted to say yes. And I think that was one of the cases. And so anyway, I as soon as he said no, I've been in sales my whole life. And so a no doesn't mean anything. A no is just a chance to turn it into a yes. A no is a pit stop on the way to a yes most of the time, unless the Lord wants it to be no, which in that case, you can just wrap up right then. And so I reached into my spirit man and to pull out the thing that I always used to pull out when I going to turn a no into a yes. And you might be like, what is this mysterious magical thing that Tim does to get all his sales? But it was just that knowing that God's with me and you're saying yes. And it worked about 1,000 times, in my career. I would just reach into my spirit man and be like, they're saying yes. And then I would just keep going. And then inevitably they would usually say yes. And so I went to do that. And I reached down in that moment to turn this no into a yes, and there was nothing there. It was not there. And in that moment, chills, basically I'm kind of over exaggerating this, but chills went down my spine, and basically I realized I never talked to the Lord about this. I never got the thing that is like, God's with me in this. It was basically that. I reached over to talk to the Lord about, help me make this a yes, and he wasn't there. Now, obviously he was there, but he was like, I didn't tell you to do this one. And so this one's on you, dog. So anyway, and so in that moment, I'm like, okay, all right. And so I rebutted, I tried, just whatever, but hollow words, it's not going to go anywhere. And then, and that was it. So I got off the phone, and honestly, I felt embarrassed. I felt embarrassed that I had not checked with the Lord, and I felt angry at myself because I knew that like this was kind of an important one, to say the least, to the tune of $200,000 a month. I realized that I just wasted not 9 months, but basically 9 months. And this was a painful lesson that cost me a lot of money. And I stopped, and I'm like, okay, well, Lord, what do I do? Because I'm out of options now. And now I really need your help. And so I went to the Lord. I went out on the trip. And while I was out there, I just went to the Lord one day and I said, what do I do? And I just heard these simple instructions: go address your first round. And I'm like, what does that mean? And that's all I heard. So I said, and I'm like, Lord, how does that bring me money? I need millions of dollars. I don't need to go look back at documents and how I structured my first round. But anyway, that was all I heard. So in those listen and obey moments, oh, if my people would just listen and that would obey, would walk in my ways, I would quickly subdue and humble their enemies and turn my hand against their adversaries. And so I just said, okay, because that's all I heard and that's all I had. And at that point, I had no other options anyway, because I was out of VCs to talk to. I was thinking about going back to all these like mini people that were all in without a lead and be like, hey, we're going to be the lead. Do you just want to tag in? Which I think would have worked to some degree, but then I would have had all these random VCs that some of them I didn't want to work with. And anyway, and so I just said, okay, I'll go address my first round. So I went and I pulled up my documents from my first round and I just started looking at it. And the Lord just started speaking to me. Look at that, see how you structured that. You weighted it where it was more on this instead of the equity, and now do it in reverse. And go back to your people and offer them an opportunity if they want to invest a second time to get more of this other part that's really grown in value. And it settled down. And then I felt from the Lord and give them a very favorable deal. So what we did is we went back and we offered them basically the valuation from 4 years before, when we hadn't even built the product. So I gave people a chance 4 years after, when the product basically was built, validated, and we're now heading into launch. And I allowed people to invest at the same rate to kind of like adjust their total ownership percentage. And within a few weeks, I had my first $1.5 million, and then we ended up closing that out to $2 million. And then that momentum led to the rest of the round. And we're now yesterday I did a pitch and it'll probably be 100K. And I think I'm down to like my last 135,000 or something out of 7.5 million, and no VCs, just a bunch of angels that are like, Tim, we're rooting for you. This is going to be awesome. And it's amazing people that I get to win with. And so the Lord has a better way. He has the best way. But it starts with you listening and obeying. And that's really step one. And that's honestly kind of the most important step. The rest is quite simple, but that is really the main one. And I look at David, and the story always gets me. But David, he goes to battle, he wins, and then he comes back, and his family, his wife and kids, and the wives and children and stuff of all his soldiers have been kidnapped. They didn't harm anyone, but this group of people, I think it's the Amalekites or whatever, they come in and they kidnap his whole family. And in the midst of that, the emotion, you just came back from a fight, you've been fighting for days, you're exhausted, you've been traveling back from the fight. So this is the most tired you've ever been. In the midst of all this, after experiencing a great victory, you now come back to your castle, your home, and the most precious thing to you, your family, is taken from you. And potentially, you don't know what state they're in, if they're being harmed. Just crazy thoughts and feelings. And then your own men start turning against you, and they start saying, if we had not listened to you, our families would be here. And they want to stone you and kill you. In the midst of that, this is what King David does. He doesn't make a plan. He doesn't go, okay, guys, let's go get them. I'm sorry, guys, let's go. He goes and he prays, and he says, and he listens, and he says, Lord, what do I do? What do I do in the midst of this situation? Do I go or do I stay? And if you want to talk about like surrender to the Lord, like I'll be totally honest, I'm surrendered to the Lord, and I don't know if I could have done that. Like I look at myself as a man and I say, I think in the natural, in that situation, I would just be getting my guns and I would be headed out to go do the only obvious choice, which is go get your family. I would be praying for help along the way, but I don't know if I would go to God and basically say, it's up to you. Do you want me to stay and somehow convince the men that we're supposed to stay? and that you've told me, we're supposed to say. But he literally asked the Lord, what do I do? And allowed the Lord to say the next step. And so you think, well, okay, one, that's crazy that he did that. But two, why? Why would you do that? It feels like the only obvious choice, because you even know, like at a principle level, that God wants him to have his family back. So it's not even like going after his family would have been against God's principles. It's not. It's in line with his principles. But why does he go and take the moment to actually ask the Lord for instructions? Because he's learned that the key to victory in every single battle, no matter how tired you are, how worn out you are, if your men are down, he knows the key to victory is a word from the Lord, is the Lord telling him what to do and him then listening and obeying that, not listening and obeying his own idea. And so if we could only, honestly, I could end right there, but these other 2 points are important. But if we could only do this first thing, if we could learn that in life and in our marriage and in our business and in our friendships, if we would just stop and listen and obey, we would go on the greatest winning streak humanity's ever seen. And we would just win. We would have battles, but we would win all of them, guys. And we would come out the other side just freaking champions. And it would be awesome. And it would be to the glory of the Lord. And we would probably start to become like David. And so I even asked myself this question, if I'm just being honest right now in the moment. I asked myself the question, why do I not do that every time? It's because I've not learned the importance of trusting the Lord and doing only what he says to do. I still assume or maybe I have lack of trust that he won't say anything. And so I think that we have to come to the realization that at the very least we go to God and say, do you have anything to say on this matter? If not, this is what I want to do. But if you have anything you want to say and add to this, please let me know. And I bet you if we start doing that, if that's what we take away from this for Victory Month, we are going to win so much more this year and next year and the year after than we've ever won before, because this is what happened in the Bible every single time. They listened, they obeyed, they won. 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 And then they didn't listen, didn't obey, and they lost. So we've got clear evidence of this. And so point number one, and I'll move on now, listen and obey. Point number two is be courageous. This is a scripture I want to read for that I found today. Psalms 18, 28 through 38. It's quite an interesting one. It says, no, actually, I didn't switch these. Okay, I was meant to read the other one. Doesn't matter. All right. Deuteronomy 20, 1 through 4. So he's telling them, he's preparing them for battle. And the Lord is giving specific instructions on how to win every battle. And so this is like amazing. And it says this: when you go out to battle against your enemies and see horses and chariots and people more numerous than you. So he's preparing you. Hey, you're going to face situations that in the natural, you don't look like you can win. Lots of enemies, horses, chariots, people more numerous. They were not, if you think about the children of Israel, just think about it practically for a second. They didn't have chariots. They likely didn't have horses. They were on foot. So the second you're up against horses and chariots, you're at a massive disadvantage in a battle. On top of that, they have more people. But it's saying, when you see this, when you see the odds, when you see the horses, when you see the chariots, when you see the more numerous people, do not be afraid. For the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, the Lord your God who's brought you to this place, who's helped you win every other battle that you listened before, the Lord that has brought you from victory to battle to victory to battle to victory to battle to victory, the Lord that has brought you and has not failed you now, because you're here now and you're alive now. Maybe you've struggled, maybe you've had some knocks, maybe you're in the midst of a fight right now, but you're here now, which means that he's helped you to get here, right? You're still alive. Some of you guys should have been dead. Some of you guys were like me. You drove crazy and you near misses. The Lord sent some angels working overtime for a couple years there. Some of you guys were out in the world on drugs, doing crazy things. Some of you guys have crazy pasts where you were mixed up with dangerous people, right? And you shouldn't even be here right now, but the Lord brought you through, and he's going to bring you through this one too. Whatever you're facing today, he's going to bring you through, because he's not failed you once. Maybe you didn't win the way you wanted to win. Maybe you didn't listen either, but you're going to listen now and you're going to win now. And that's it. That's why we're in Victory Month. That's why the Lord had to say it, to encourage you. You are going to win. my friend. You're going to win. And so it says this, when you go into the battle, do not be afraid of them, for the Lord your God, who brought you from the land of Egypt, is with you. And then he says this, when you approach the battle, the priest shall come forward and speak to the people and shall say to them, hear, O Israel, you are advancing today to battle against your enemies. Do not lack courage. Do not be afraid or panic or tremble in fear before them, for the Lord your God is with you as he goes to fight against your enemies to save you. When he's saying this, he's basically giving them the clear instruction, the key to actually being in the battle. So there's the pre-battle, which is the listen and obey. But the battle is be courageous. It's the only thing you do when you know what you're supposed to do. So if you've done step one, if you've listened and you've obeyed, now it's be courageous. Be courageous as you head into that thing. Ignore what you see. Ignore the enemies over there. Ignore the chariots. Ignore the horses. Ignore the numerous people. Don't look at the odds. Don't listen to the advisor who tells you this, that, whatever. When you feel it and you know it and you've got that instruction from the Lord, put your head down, ignore what you see, and know that God is with you. And be courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not panic. Do not tremble before them. For the Lord your God is with you. And when you have God with you, you and God are a majority. You and God are the people they should be afraid of, because you can't fail when God Almighty is with you. He's the creator of the heavens and the earth. The gold is his. The silver is his. The cattle on 1,000 hills is his. He moves kings on your behalf. He gives you favor with God and man. He makes the crooked path straight. He provides a table before you in the presence of your enemies, to feast while they watch from the bushes in fear. That's our God. That's the God with a win streak that when his people have listened, he's going on a billion to 1. His people have billion to 0. He's never lost a battle. Even when it looked like he lost and his son died, he stayed dead for 3 days and then he rose from the grave and embarrassed and paraded the devil around in front of his own people and dragged him around hell for a little while and threw him around like a rag doll and then took the keys to hell, death, and the grave and freed the prisoners and went up into heaven, and we won again, right? When we thought we lost that one time, we actually won the greatest victory. That's our God. That's who we serve. Be courageous. Be full of courage. Be full of courage, Troy. Be full of courage, Tony. Be full of courage. Be full of courage. Do not be afraid. Do not tremble. Do not fear. Be full of courage and go for it. And the Lord is with you. And what's so interesting is after this chapter, if you read the verses after this, like 5, 6, 7, and 8, he says, he does something interesting. He says, and have the officers go to the people and say to a man who has a field that he has planted and has not harvested it, go back to your home and harvest it, lest you die in battle and another man harvest. And he says to a man, you're engaged to a wife, go back to your wife and marry her, lest you die in battle. And then there's another one about dedicating your home. And it basically, and I thought to myself, why does he do that? And then he says, and go to the last one, and if any man is afraid, have him go back. And then it says this, and this is crazy. It says, because, well, let me just find it right now. It's I thought it was in here, but let me click on this real quick. I just want to read this. It's, is it this one? No, sorry. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, this is really quite crazy. And it says, have the officer say to the people, what man has built a new home, has not dedicated, go back, let him return, lest he die in battle. And if he's not planted a vineyard, let him go back. And if he's not married to the woman, let him go back, let him return to his home, lest he die in battle. And then it says, and then she'll speak further to the soldiers and say, who is the man who is afraid, who lacks courage? Let him go and return to his house, so that he does not cause his brother's courage to fail like his own. Man. Whew. And it shall be when the officers have finished speaking to the soldiers, they shall appoint the commanders over them. And then, it goes on to tell them how to win. Man, if a man lacks courage and is afraid, let him go back so he doesn't cause his brothers. And so this is a sobering thought right there. And one that does, it hits a nerve for me, because I watched over and over and over again in my own company when I was in sales, this principle play out, which is the men that lack courage, the men that are not hardworking, the men that are not, they're not ready to be real men. It's not that they're lesser, but they don't deserve, they can't be in the fight with the rest of us. That's just the truth. They can't be, because it only takes one weak man to spread that weakness around, that lack of courage. But if you have a smaller army, because you would think, oh, we need all the men we can get. We're outnumbered. There's horses, there's chariots. No, God literally says no. God literally says what I used to say: a small team all in is better than a big team not all in. And I've never seen this until today. I used to have this exact speech. I would fire someone, usually going into the middle of summer. And it's a weird time to fire someone because they've made it through the beginning. They bonded with the team. It's not, you can fire people week 1, week 2, make examples of people, which you have to do if you really want to win as a sales organization. And we would let people go, and they were people who were not working. We find out they're out partying. We move there for 5 months. We leave our families. We move into apartments with 4 dudes at a time. We work 9-hour days. We work 6 days a week. I mean, we're all in, right? And so people have given up a lot to be there. And so you actually, as a leader, if you don't fire people, you are ruining the opportunity of the people who deserve to be there. So I learned very quickly, I have to be ruthless with who I allow in. If you are here to be with me and you're all in, you're allowed to be here. If you're not, you got to go home. And so we let people go. But inevitably, there was always this halfway point of the summer where people had settled into their routines, and the people who are there, they all deserve to be there. They all should be there. But 1 or 2 will make the choice to start not deserving to be there, though they did in the beginning. And these are the hardest ones, but these are the ones that define the greatest teams. And you come across these guys, and usually the numbers work themselves out, because these guys get good at like not working hard, and you don't know it, right? They're telling you all the right things. Oh man, it was a tough day. You find out later they were not working, and they were taking other people off the doors and all these things. Like, that's what you always find out after the fact. But in the moment, they're like, dude, I'm just struggling. But here's what happens. We have a quota system. We have a system that automatically puts you on a quota of 2. If you bagel for a week, if you don't sell for an entire week, you go out 8 hours a day, you don't find a single sale. At this point, you should be selling 1 a day. But if you're not selling 1 a day, they don't sell 1 for an entire week per day. They come to the end of the week, we put them on quota. And inevitably, guys are like shocked. Oh man, I was working or whatever. And then they've got to sell 2 every week for the rest of summer, or they go home. And then if they sell like 4 or 5, they come off of quota. And it's basically a mechanism to weed out the final people who shouldn't be there. And so inevitably, we send someone home. And they're usually one of the most beloved people, because a lot of times, unfortunately, the people that are the life of the party are not always the ones that want to get in and work hard. They've always leaned on their ability to just entertain and be around, and they've gotten through life without hard work. They've gotten through with their charm. And so it's always a tough moment, and I've literally stood up in front of an office and I've cried as I told people I fired someone, because it was a tough decision, because I liked them as a person so much. But like in this story, they had to go because their lack of courage, their lack of discipline, their lack of work, their lack of whatever affected the collective unity. And that's what we're building here at Mighty Men. And it's not about building some group with me and Troy, because that's not at all this thing. Like, I don't see this thing as my thing at all. I see this thing as our thing. We're building a group of mighty men. And it's not about like, oh, you need to like do this thing or whatever. Like, we're not kicking anybody out. There's not any of that, right? We don't even interact enough to have a reason to do that. But ultimately, the point is, I'm challenging all of you to not be that man that doesn't have the courage. That you are here in life saying, I am not going to live a mediocre life. Some of you guys are still, and there's nothing wrong with a 9 to 5, but some of you guys, you have more in you, and these calls have been challenging you, and I want to lay out the challenge today. Go after what God has called you to do. Do not be the man that when we get to heaven together, when Jesus returns, that we look around and everyone can see what we all should have done, and we go, oh, Tim missed it by 15, 11%, this person missed it, and then this guy over here is like 90%, and you're like, dude, I knew I should have left that thing, and I should have built that business, and I should have gone after that thing, and I should have trusted the Lord, but I was afraid. Don't be that man. Be the courageous man. And you have it in you. You have courage in you. You are built to be courageous. The worst feeling is the pain of regret. That's the worst pain. The pain of regret and it's the pain of regret of not doing something you should have done, knowing you could have challenged yourself. And my wife is awesome, and I'm so appreciative of her, because she's the type that will look at me and go, I married you because I knew you would not settle, and that's why I married you. Troy's wife said this about him basically at his birthday, and it was just awesome being there. Thank you, Troy, for having me. But I'm proud to call Troy a friend because he's like me, and I'm also proud of myself to say I'm that way. I am courageous. I am freaking courageous. Maybe I'm a bit too courageous in thinking I can do things I can't do, but I am not going to die in obscurity on this earth. There's no way, right? I will fail extraordinarily, but I will not die in obscurity. That's the truth. I've not signed up for this one life we get to live. Eternity is real, and we win there anyway. It's kind of like we have a free pass on earth in a way, right? Victory is already, the ultimate victory is eternity, heaven, mansions, streets of gold, right? I mean, whatever else is up there, it's going to be freaking awesome. But let's win here. Let's have victory here. And the only way you have victory is if you have big battles, but you don't get victory without a battle. That's the funny reality, right? Victory is not about just like I'm doing good in life. That's not victory. Victory is you overcome something that the odds were against you and you won anyway because God was on your side. And I'm not saying go pick a fight just to pick a fight to have a battle without the Lord, right? Like don't do that, right? That's a formula for losing. But man, when the Lord has a battle for you, and he does, there are no NPCs in the body of Christ. Every one of you is an important soldier in God's army. Some of you have just been basically, until now, you've been just fighting kind of your own battles, right? The battle, I for years knew I was living below my potential. I went to Bible school. I went all in. Then I got into business. Then I, backslid in these things. And then I came back to the Lord, and I came back halfway. I came back as a pew sitting, offering, giving, cheering everybody else on, very encouraging, very dedicated to that role. But that was my role. I was not a frontline soldier. I didn't want to get back out there again. And not even in the form of preaching and all that, but in the form of like basically risking it all to do what I feel the Lord has called me to do. There are people on this call, and I'll finish with this, that you have something inside of you. We'll do part 2 next week, but you have something great inside of you, and it's time you commit to that. It's time that you decide not to be this man. There was this, you decided to not be this man. Be the one who is courageous. Don't be the man. Then the officers said, speak further to the soldiers. Go deeper with the soldiers and really look them in the eye and say, is there a man of you that's afraid, who lacks courage? Let him go, return to his home, so that you don't cause your brothers. None of us are going to be those men who cause our brothers to pull back. We are all going to be the ones that push each other. And I'm telling you, it's from the Lord that we're in this group, because this group is going to help all of us be better men, and it's going to help all of us become the men we're meant to be. You are going to help me. I'm going to help you. Iron's going to sharpen iron, and we're going to win bigger together because we're going to push each other on, right? We should be expecting that by the end of the year, there's like significant breakthroughs that happen in this group. There's major advances because people took the risk. They went after it. You can expect I'll be one of them. I will be one of them. By the end of this year, I'm going to be sharing with you what the Lord did with Coin Games and with the Collector Club. And so it's an honor to get to help lead this group and be a part of this thing with you. And so let's go out today. Let's listen and obey, and then let's just be freaking courageous. I'm gonna say point 3. I'll probably pick up. We'll do part 2 of this next week. I'll pick up the remaining points next week just for sake of time. So let's pray. Father, thank you. In fact, let's just do this together. This is a good moment to recommit. So just pray this with me. Say, Father. Say, I'm all in.
I'm all in.
I say, I commit 100%. To what you've called me to do. I will not lack courage. I will not be afraid. I will be courageous. I will listen. I will obey. And I'll do what you've called me to do. With your help, I'm going to win. And go on an endless winning streak. In Jesus' name. Amen. Awesome, guys. There's a bunch of freaking winners on this call, and I should probably stop saying freaking so much. But anyway, sorry to anyone that bothers. But
Difference in cussing and cursing.
It
really is.
Keep saying
The Mormons have a bunch of fake words that go further down the chart on the other words. It was so funny to me when I heard some of them being around them. But anyway, yeah, you guys are awesome.
It's not caffeine, it's cocaine. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Well, you guys are awesome. I'm excited for this week. I got myself fired up today. Sometimes I'm just like, I need to stand, because if I sit, it's a different vibe. When I do the standing table, the real me comes out. But yeah, guys, awesome. If you need anything, let us know. Scar, if you want to, I haven't read your second. I hearted the first message in the thing, but I didn't see the second one yet because I haven't been back in the chat.
And
so
make sure too, guys, if you guys haven't signed up at mightymen.io, that's how you guys get logged in for the email updates. We send them the night before at 8:30. We send them the morning of, and then 5 minutes before. And if you're going to invite people, share that link with them, mightymen.io. It just allows us to be able to automate some of the communications.
Yep. Mightyman.io. You want to throw it in the chat, Troy?
I did already. Yeah, it's mightymen.io.
Okay.
It's there.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Cool. Adios, everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you, guys.